Damn, dusty in here. It's been nearly 2 years since there was a proper video here, huh? Well, let's get acquainted. Properly, this time. Content warning. This video is longer than a minute. If your attention span has been ruined by YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram Reels, etc., you may find this content scale-y and cannot handle it. So I will supply background video game music to occupy your retinas, but if you choose to flee, I understand. If you're strong enough to handle an actual lengthy YouTube video, please consider yourself at home. You have been warned. Hello, player. My name is Iris Dice, one of the virtual YouTubers and streamers that have gone around as of late. Though in a weird state of limbo. I'm not exactly a VTuber, and yet I'm not exactly a PNG tuber either. And I'm not afraid of being a standard flesh tuber. I want to forego traditional VTuber boundaries and innovate on ideas that already exist to bring smiles and creativity to the forefront of the VTuber community in ways never before seen. It's a lot of work, but I want to explain everything really well, so on your screen you should see topics and the associated time signatures, such as facts, fiction, forward, whatever else I put there. These bookmarks should make this video and my tangents more organized and easier to digest, so they should also be listed in the description and pinned comment. Now, let us begin our history lesson. I have had this obsession with all things YouTube and Twitch for most of my life, and I mean most of my life. I think I was only 9 when I tried imitating my favorite YouTubers for the first time back in 2013.
Hello, peeps.
During high school and the big pandemic, I discovered the whole VTuber thing through my best friend, and my fascination was born immediately thanks to 2 key individuals that I started with, Lena Laser and Kamui Kushi. I would not have my obsession and inspiration without these 2, and a third that we'll get to, as my buddy AJ introduced me to a Lena stream on April 24th, 2021, where we kinda just chilled out and listened to a scary horror lady read off horror stories. I thought it was chill enough to come back the next day, and that's when the obsession really began. Lena started discussing a fascinating thing called lore with someone named Konzetsu, the story behind the model that they use. Both of them individually, of course. The followers were dubbed hemogoblins, based off hemoglobins within the red blood cells, given Lena's intrinsic ties to blood in her real life and in her lore, weaving reality into a fictional on-screen persona. Though that alone would not have spurred my obsession. It was the raid afterward that brought me forward to wanting to try this whole VTuber thing myself. We went from the gothic lore building of Lena's stream into this whimsical space where a forest dog spirit was playing Sonic Heroes, and it was such an incredible whiplash to my poor attention span. 2 starkly different characters and aesthetics casually talking about how the stream went, and I could not find exactly what I commented, but I believe it was along the lines of weaving the lines of fact and fiction. I don't believe that's exactly right, but it was mentioned by Cam and repeated by Lena in the chat, which did my ego absolute wonders. With nothing better to do than not fail my classes alone in my room, I started looking into becoming a VTuber. Vroid was the start, messing around with the model template and just messing with it to see if my terrible laptop named The Sandwich could even run the model and the tracking by itself. I made a really bad starter based on myself at the time, where it would be somewhat yellow, have plastic hair with a purple streak, and my favorite atrocious shirt. It ended up working out, and no matter how bad it looked, I was ecstatic. I assured my parents immediately, waking up my dad, who had likely just fallen asleep after working the night shift, because my excitement completely outweighed my sense of decency. What I made, in big fat quotation marks, worked, and that meant that I could take part in this magical thing I stumbled upon. So I tested out streaming with this virtual Ken doll of myself and learned some stuff I never would have paid any mind to before, such as staying where my webcam can see, checking if the model broke, or if it was, doing terribly on stream, and was typically going terrible, but that never stopped me. I was enjoying myself at the most basic level, and that's all that really mattered. I considered myself past level 1, and that was time to level up. I wanted a unique design, not just a generic anime boy that would fit into a crowd. My attention-seeking ass wouldn't allow it, so I looked to the past. During middle school, my partner was obsessed with the pilot of Hazbin Hotel, and I kind of liked it, so she designed a Hazbin Hotel OC based on me, named Gomitan. He was a demon comprised of trash and sludge. It was very simple. It was grey, and with a simple color scheme, with an additional detail or two. Nothing too complicated. I took that design and turned it into a V-Rid model, and that would be the last model I'd stream with for quite some time, between the hoodie and the shattered horn plus tail combo. The first thing that changed from the transition from 2D to 3D was the name. Gomi didn't really roll off the tongue the way I wanted, so I kept the name I had been using online. Iris, the colored part of your eye. It had nothing to do with the model and persona yet, I was just comfortable with the name. This model saw me break through some incredible personal milestones, such as Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, Undertale, Celeste, Coffee Talk, and reaching affiliate on Twitch. I want to refer to this as the Long Era, as this was part of my username at the time, Iris the Long, which really haphazardly meant Eye of the Purple Dragon, which is what I thought was cool at the time. Again, had nothing to do with the lore or avatar itself, as I had not thought about it much since the day with Lena and Cam. During this era, I fell in love with the other side of content creation I had not known in streaming. The act of streaming felt easy. You turn on the game, you hit start stream, and go for a few hours, just having fun. But some part of me knew that this was not what I wanted. I did not want to be just another video game VTuber sitting there doing nothing with the potential that sat in front of them. I finally saw that truth on June 24th, 2022, where a certain someone was celebrating their VTuber debut. The multiversal monarch, Amelie, someone I had been listening to for quite some time, but I had not engaged properly with her streams. That day, she showed me just how much potential lay beyond the screen. She did more than just play games with a virtual persona. There was an animated lore video tying in her long history of music covers on YouTube and her own original story together into the multiversal monarch, mixing fact and fiction just as I had seen Lena do. But Amma had taken it a step further, as she released an entire album that follows the story of the multiversal monarch's rise to power. This was unique, going beyond just being an online persona to tell a story. The story was not simply to explain the model, but the model was there to share this story as part of their creative expression. That was unapologetically who she was and wants to be going forward. And so, my three inspirations were set. The Blood Queen, the Forest Fae, and the Multiversal Monarch. These three taught me so much just by existing. They were at the center of anything I ever created, trying to show my appreciation for them by incorporating them into whatever it was I was making for myself. I am no artist. Not traditionally, not musically. At best, I am a writer that struggles to finish what I've started. But Dungeons & Dragons had become what my life had begun revolving around, both as a game and a tool to help my friends escape this world and into one of my own creation, where they can be and do anything. So I created a personal project called Virtual Thrones, where I started taking VTubers I knew and VTubers my friends had given me into a D&D campaign setting, putting together lore to fit into the giant exciting venture, where their stories can be experienced by others, with Monarch at the center of it all, as she is literally designed to be the ultimate villain. This was the next level to me, where people don't just read or watch stories for the avatars we use, but they would witness it unfold before their very eyes, and could even be a part of it. You could watch these people grow and develop, while we could set up pre-existing hidden toggles to change the models as the story progresses, and pivotal moments occur. The avatars you don't expect to change are suddenly drastically different with scarring or a different outfit, among other dramatic reveals. But I ultimately scrapped the plan, due to how niche of a project it was at the time. Very few people at my personal table are interested in VTubers and the like, which is completely fine, so I did not think they would enjoy this campaign as much as they would other things. We'll get back to that. But I did learn something from the cancelled Virtual Thrones, and that was how I wanted to portray myself within the world. As the Dungeon Master, I dictated how their world worked as the narrator. The game could not exist without the actual me. So, the in-game Iris would have been a memo keeper of events, an in-game database that could poke them in the right direction if they were unsure what to do, seeing everything through their glowing yellow eyes. Wanting to further blend fact and fiction, Iris would be an in-game creation of my partner's persona, Rory. Using Dungeons & Dragons rules on Artificer Infusions for a homunculus servant, Iris would be a construct made by Rory. The glowing eyes change to be parts of the 100 gold piece gem or crystal at the core of the creature. So instead of eyes, we decided to be on the nose about it and changed the eyes to dice, the D20, D6, and D4 visible in the face. The design would change drastically to fit the new D&D theme, the dice changing the turtleneck style to a hooded jacket for the typical Dungeon Master style, enigmatism, and upgrading the jacket to feel more unique, scraped together, with just pure garbage and trash, and a sincerity that I felt embodied myself. And in the end, the name was changed to better fit the new look. Iris Dice, a triple meaning in dice, eyes, and a cryptic hint at the character's history or the future depending on your perspective. So after redesigning, I debuted the new PNG look on August 4th, 2023, my birthday, which is the only real video I've made for this channel. Since then, a lot has changed, and I have been incredibly busy, finding myself content to just stream once or twice a week at best for the fun of it, with a group of friends. But there it is again, complacency. I adored the PNG I used, playing D&D every week with my friends, but it nagged at the back of my mind that I could be doing so much that my ideas were just going to go unused and forgotten, that I was nothing more than a dreamer. Around the time that I had these thoughts surface again, there was a notification from someone who was always the most ungodly level of coincidental. January 11th, 2024, Amelie posts a music video for a song called Devotion. It was another original song meant to expand on the story of the multiversal monarch even further, as the debut was not the end of it. It was a perfect reminder of what I wanted to do, what lengths I wanted to go, though certain personal complications kept me from making crazy life decisions at the moment. So I worked quietly, trying to make a unique story for myself to appease my mind. I knew myself very well at that point. My best work was never truly original, but a branch off another work, adding to an existing story to make it bigger, feel more alive. So, on a whim, I changed Iris's story to be a self-insert within the story of the ultimate self-insert VTuber. Pause! We're gonna get to that later. We do not want to be too messy right now. I'll put up a semi-proper lore video later. Just know for right now it's a little complicated. As if things were not enough of a cosmic sign at this point for my anxiety-ridden self, one of the local conventions I attended every year had a fun little announcement. Amelie would be attending Level Up Expo. At first I was excited, showing it to my other VTuber friends. Then my best VTuber friend Chishiri voiced her worries and anxiety about meeting Iron Mouse at Level Up as well. I'd gotten a little self-conscious and ate up Chishiri's anxieties about meeting Mousy with my own version of anxiety. It was one thing to meet your idol, it was another entirely to meet your idol as a complete stranger being unapologetically involved in a work that is not yours. But it wasn't my first time meeting someone that I was using the characters in world of, just the biggest scale I've ever dealt with in terms of importance to me. So I wrote out a letter. I was going to hand Amma this letter that would have everything I'd be afraid to say and a shot in the dark asking if she'd be the narrator for my eventual lore video, as well as $100 inside. Then when Level Up came around, I ended up not giving her the letter. I was afraid to be judged and rejected by the person I was idolizing. I used my unborn daughter as an excuse to not go through with it, saying my focus should be completely on her and not my personal dreams. It's the most classic Iris thing to do, putting everything he wants on the back burner and using others as an excuse for his fears. Happens quite a bit. But even if I didn't give the letter directly, I still wanted to meet Amelie. So I actively activated a Cash App card in line after realizing I've never used it before, and then paid to meet the multiversal monarch, which is this picture from Level Up Saturday. I gave her one of my pairs of sunglasses, the ones she has in the picture. Talked a little bit about everything that I wanted to do in terms of VTuber stuff, and I even acknowledged the fact the letter exists even though I didn't give it to her, as well as what it was for, about putting $100 in there to pitch the voice. Oddly enough, she was excited and invited me to hit her up, saying that if I wanted to do VTuber stuff, I really should. Having never done a proper meet and greet, I said that I'd just be back tomorrow. So that night, I went home feeling validated about myself receiving an invitation to do what I wanted to do, and the fact Amma wasn't against it. Though the cynical part of me believes that it was just an attempt to not be rude at a public space to a fanboy. But, coincidentally, the cynic got shot in the foot when I got a notification for Alma's cover of Beauty and the Beast going live that night. seems unrelated, but Beauty and the Beast has a very specific personal history for me, one that resulted in me meeting my closest VTuber friend. That also decided what I would be paying for the next day, seeing her again with my partner and friends in tow. So, early that morning, I went to go see Amma to get her to sign my libretto for the Beauty and the Beast on-stage musical that I lost during high school and quote-unquote found after I had paid for it already. While she was signing it, I stumbled over my words and absolutely embarrassed myself in front of my friends to the point where my best friend said I'm going to go stand over there. It was his first con, and his immediate experience was standing in the heat and watching me absolutely drop the ball like a 4-year-old that just shat himself asking for more peas. In the end, I forgot to ask how I should contact her for the lore voiceover and couldn't find any way to actually contact her privately, but I added her signature to the libretto, and that contained a lot of important signatures to me. So now it's just a bunch of peers and the person who's my inspiration. Since then, I was secretly hoping she'd be back this year, but she wasn't on the lineup for Level Up 2025. Instead, I caught Steve and he incognito and met the Samantha Bayard with another friend. Is it Bayard or Baird? I cannot be bothered to look this up right now. Anyway, back to VTuber stuff. I had just figured out how much I wanted to make up for my blunder. To punish myself for once again being unable to follow through with a plan, I decided I would step out of my comfort zone. As punishment, I would make a cover of Metamorphosis from Rise of the Monarch, but I'd alter it to fit the story of Iris. So, a new project was born. Butterfly Effect, Rise Against the Monarch. I deep dove into whatever Monarch lore existed several times over, including Siren and Hear Me Out since their releases, wanting to get as much as I could write to expand on the multiversal Monarch story in an authentic way. This project has been in progress for an embarrassingly long time. Almost a full year at this point, if I'm correct, because I was afraid of screwing it up, just like Virtual Thrones and the Amma Letter. I took ideas and expanded upon them in secret, while Cheshire took my ideas and ran with them because she knew that it would be amazing. So, rather than me being the dungeon master for the table for a couple months, she was in charge, and we retold Cheshire's D&D lore while mixing in current lore from the other 3 VTubers involved and Jujutsu Kaisen to entice the players who didn't care for VTubers like that. Cats and Curses is unlike any other campaign that I've ever seen because I came up with the JJK rulings and the players got to learn about a world and story that existed outside of the game itself. Cheshire's origins of Wonderland 121 and the 3 VTubers ended up playing ourselves. I ended up building D&D character sheets for everyone involved: Cheshire, Iris Dies, Rory's Art Space, and Raphael Cormos. I built them completely off of the in-game lore, as well as the actual D&D character lore and what we had available to us. It was very short notice for me, so I didn't get to perfect it, but I'm still very proud of it. It took me a while to figure out exactly how Iris would work, but I knew that he would be 2 different classes because of a shift in story. Based on devotion and how I wrote Metamorphosis, Hexblade Warlock was a given. The Valkyrie Blade, the voices of the fallen Valkyries, giving him strength and guidance, provoking him to meet and confront Monarch. The other would be the Oath of the Crown Paladin, wanting to be like Monarch, accepting her invitation to be like her to some degree. Not the multiversal Monarch like her, an overseer over his own little corner at the end of time, with his own little stories. The campaign itself is actually canon to each of our stories, and our online personas will change to match that to some degree. Our VTubers are characters that are going on their own journeys that are far from done, as Cats and Curses did not end on the happiest of notes, where the online personas are worse off than where they began. So the lore of Iris is now completely complicated, mixing reality, the creation of Iris, Monarch's lore, D&D class ruling, and a little extra involved for Cheshire and Raphael Cormos. And that's exactly what I wanted. We brought VTubers to life, more than just an online persona with a backstory to decorate it. They exist in a story where they have their own needs and wants, their own lives to live. The VTubers that we are no longer just ourselves in a different skin for the online purpose of hiding our faces. It is now actual characters that have lived their own stories and are currently changing. The story will be continued, I promise you that. Everything I'm working on will culminate into the next part of that adventure, between the VTubers and the people who play at my table simply because they want to have a good time. As for the stories themselves, I'll recap them as best as I can in videos, so people don't need to watch full VODs of D&D for the sake of understanding lore. So now that Butterfly Effect has begun with Metamorphosis, I'll be making a lore video covering Iris Dies as a character, so you'll have the proper story leading into Butterfly Effect the campaign. The lore video will be the intended story from the beginning, while the campaign story is malleable via player input as they experience their own version of the story. The enigmatic slime man getting up to some fairy tale nonsense. The lore video won't be anything special, no animatic or anything, just more narration over some gameplay, probably. But it'll be up soon-ish, kind of, maybe, I don't know. It just won't take over a year. I don't want it to. So yeah. Hey, if you made it all the way here, I thank you for sitting here and listening to my insane ramblings. It means a lot to me that anyone would bear listening to me for so long, especially how sick of my own voice I am after Metamorphosis. It's actually my third cover, the other two being with Cheshire on her channel, but this was a solo project and I still feel gross about it since I did everything myself, besides the art that Cheshire made. I found myself restarting from basically scratch for days on end, until the 15th, Father's Day. I started Audacity wondering if I could actually improve what I could put out this way. The optimist in me said I could always improve it, which is true. But there was a more important question. Would I ever be satisfied with it? The answer was very clear. For a plethora of reasons, I would never be satisfied. I would never be able to conquer some deep-rooted insecurities or the newfound ones with the pressures of who it was that's inspiring me at the base of it all. So I just decided to throw together my latest draft and work on this video. The only reason I put it out is because I said I would and gave myself a deadline out of love for the project and how it has inspired me, both the original Rise of the Monarch and Rise Against the Monarch. I never want to hear my own singing voice again, so please, if someone really likes the version of the song I made, do it better than I did, so I can like it better too. So, now I need to sit here and work on the lore video, the Epic the Musical video, maybe a Technoblade video, Butterfly Effect, Genshin Impact campaign. Basically, I'm working on a lot of things at once while I'm hoping I don't get a cease and desist from VShojo for Metamorphosis. I don't think they can do that, but there's always a possibility. And since I have you here, can I just ask, what the fuck? I'm gonna post something in direct relation to a current project or a personal moment whenever I need it most, like some really fucked up guardian angel. Except the guardian angel's, you know, the ultimate evil at the end of time. At first, I thought it was some really sad and pathetic parasocial thing, but it was way too coincidental, happening way too often. Devotion, Beauty and the Beast, Siren, Hear Me Out, they were all points where I felt insecure and lacked confidence. Then while having doubts about this entire project and the Warrior of the Mind cover, she posts Thunderbringer? I played Odysseus for well over a month for the Epic the Musical project, and I need to record the script for, and she's over here like, Lumao, I'm going to be the god that tells you to make life-changing decisions or you're gonna regret it. I hate motivation so much. Anyway, there's my inhumane ramblings. I gotta work on that epic video. Later, player.